today in support of House Bill 597. I am Rose Stechschulte, a veteran teacher, a married mother of 3 grandchildren, and a grandmother of 8. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about my perspectives on Common Core in the classroom, along with the 3rd grade reading guarantee. Let me say, I am very relieved that you're going to see this repeal through. I teach 3rd grade in a small rural school district in northwestern Ohio. We are one of the smallest schools or public schools in the state. In the 2013-2014 school year, our enrollment in K through 6 consisted of 200 students. I consider my district very successful despite its size. Our students have graduated and pursued their education, entered the workforce, or joined the military, the same for students all across the state. However, I can also boast that the students from Fort Jennings who have furthered their education have gone on to become doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers, pharmacists, and nurses. I'm grateful that we will improve Ohio's existing standards and get rid of the Common Core standards that are subpar and have never been tested. At Fort Jennings, parents are involved in their children's education. Year after year, I have 100% participation at parent-teacher conferences. It is important to our parents to be involved in their children's classroom education. I appreciate being able to shape their children's young minds academically. However, I feel, as do the parents, that it is their responsibility to educate their children with their personal, religious, social, cultural, and political beliefs. Common Core standards will not allow teachers and parents to continue this successful partnership where education comes first while still respecting individuality. In my 20-plus years of teaching, I have seen many small changes in our standards and curriculum. Those changes usually consisted of the rearranging of content from one grade level to another. When I first learned that we would be implementing Common Core, I wasn't too concerned. However, the more I learn about these standards, the less I support them. Normally, with small standards changes, it may take several years to see how the changes are working. There is also a several-year adjustment period to get students and curriculum aligned with the new standards. A change this drastic will take even longer. It basically leaves the students in a position where they are being tested on skills that won't be fully developed due to gaps in the foundations used to build those skills. You could liken it to giving students a hammer and nails and then testing them on how well they build a house. With the new school year approaching, I find myself struggling with how to implement my math program using Common Core standards. For example, there will be little room for a review of addition and subtraction facts, as the standards focus heavily on multiplication and division. A very difficult concept for 3rd graders to grasp is fractions, yet there are many standards dealing with them, which I feel are developmentally inappropriate for 3rd graders. There's also no standard for teaching money in 3rd grade. One concerned parent told me they took common sense out of the Common Core standards, and I would have to agree. As a 3rd grade teacher, I'm especially in tune with the high stakes my students are subjected to with the 3rd grade reading guarantee. Except those with special circumstances, students must meet a minimum score on the state reading test in order to move on to 4th grade in reading. If that score is not reached, then those students will need to have 90 minutes of reading instruction each day with a high-performing reading teacher. While they are receiving this instruction, they will be missing instruction in other subjects, causing them to fall behind in those disciplines as well. In addition, I can only imagine what this could do to a child's self-esteem and social interactions going back and forth between 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. Once they do reach that magical number on the standardized test deemed proficient by the state, these children can then go into 4th grade with a classroom of students who have been learning 4th grade reading while they were still mastering 3rd grade content. Doesn't this just perpetuate the situation by putting them further behind? I spent 6 weeks prior to the fall administration of the reading test preparing my 3rd graders how to take a 2.5-hour test. as they've never been subjected to a test of this length before. I show them how to clearly mark their answers. I explain they must write within the box provided, or that part of their responses will not be graded. I also give them sample stories to read. The time I spend prepping students to take this test could be better utilized by teaching content from multiple subject areas. It could be better utilized by allowing students to use their imaginations, by nurturing their curiosity, or by reading literature that engages them. After all the test prep and subsequent testing, when I received the results of the fall reading test, one student who had not passed developed a nervous twitch whenever he talked to me. A once very bright, confident, articulate third grader before the assessment was reduced to a broken, insecure third grader upon learning he missed passing the test by just a few points. He went from smiling and being carefree to questioning everything he did. He wanted confirmation that he was completing a paper correctly. He wanted reassurance that he understood the directions. Simply put, he was afraid to make a mistake. Other teachers have told me that their first and second graders don't want to go on to become third graders because of those tests. They already know the stress involved in taking the test and the consequences if they don't pass it. I know that poor results attack students' self-confidence and disengage them from learning. I've witnessed it in my classroom. In June, the Department of Education released the spring 2014 reading scores from the Ohio Achievement Assessment. Nearly 90% of third graders met the criteria for promotion, up from 63% during the fall OAA reading testing. I would expect that those percentages would increase. After all, the students take that test in early October, when they are essentially still second graders. Add an additional 7 months of growth, both physically and academically, and those scores are bound to improve. Wouldn't you agree? But an Excel in Ed article states, the results are clear since Governor John Kasich's enactment of Ohio's third grade reading guarantee. The state now has a clear focus to ensure students are learning critical reading skills needed for educational success. The article goes on to quote the Excel in Ed CEO. What we are seeing in Ohio proves that when additional teacher training is provided and when educators are committed to effective reading instruction, students will be equipped to succeed for years to come. Are you kidding me? What does she think we were committed to prior to third grade reading guarantee? This comment is an insult to my intelligence as well as to all my colleagues. To suggest that we were only committed to effective reading instruction after the third grade reading guarantee was enacted is insane and couldn't be further from the truth. It couldn't be more wrong.